So, let's travel through time. Put on your bell-bottoms, stare dreamily into that lava lamp, turn up the volume on Paul Simon's Mrs. Robinson, and imagine you are graduating from college 60 years ago, in the mid-1960s. A revolutionary era that had different contours but presented similar questions to the ones you face today. Namely, how might you make your way, your mark, and your fortune, God willing, as my mother-in-law would say on that, in a time of global conflicts, political upheavals, and technological transformations. In Mike Nichols' film, the newly minted graduate Ben is cornered by middle-aged men in suits at cocktail parties and told there is a future in plastics. They could just as easily have lectured him about processed foods. This was the era of TV dinners, instant mashed potatoes, frozen fish sticks. The future of American cuisine seemed destined to come out of a package. Ambitious college graduates were no doubt told to think about new products that could be heated more quickly than SpaghettiOs, or find a new preservative that could make those O's last longer, or devise a new marketing campaign that sold more cans to more people. The wave was cresting right in front of you. All you had to do was ride it. Alice Waters came of age in this era, eating meals out of a freezer, all the while nurturing this vague notion that there had to be a better way to engage in one of life's most fundamental pleasures, sharing food with family and friends. Like you, she was a student of the liberal arts. In fact, she majored in French cultural studies. Might not be the most direct route to Wall Street. It did mean she studied abroad in Paris. France transformed Alice Waters, particularly the difference in how people approached meals. Processed foods were not the norm in Paris. People went to the market to find the freshest produce available multiple times a day. They were happy to pay extra for the good bread. Most importantly, they savored their meals slowly, lingering for hours at a time with family and friends. One day, Alice Waters went to a restaurant in Brittany and ordered fish for lunch. Her waiter took the order, then went outside and caught a trout from the stream that ran alongside the restaurant. He showed Alice the fish while it was still flopping around in the pan. Then he cooked it with vegetables that he had picked from the garden. The experience opened Alice's eyes to new possibilities. At that time in the United States, there were virtually no grocery stores, no markets, no restaurants that supported a slow food way of life. So Alice Waters built them. She opened a restaurant called Chez Panisse, which served fresh food in a comfortable environment that encouraged conversation. Chez Panisse was the nation's first farm-to-table restaurant. It has a claim to be the most influential American eating establishment of the last 60 years. A whole galaxy of famous chefs got their start in its kitchen. When you see terms like organic or wholesome or fresh associated with your food rather than quick or convenient, when you read the name of the farm that your meat or vegetables came from, that's the universe that Alice Waters built. Let me point out 3 things we can learn from the Alice Waters story. Number 1, you are not obligated to ride the wave that presents itself as inevitable. This is not a comment against Instagram or instant mashed potatoes or artificial intelligence. It is a comment about embracing human judgment. Your judgment. The judgment that gets cultivated by a liberal arts education of constant reading, and thinking and discussing and opining and revising. It is the judgment that can look at a rising tide, whether it's processed food or gambling apps, and say, I think that wave is more likely to destroy cities than raise boats. Or simply, no thanks, I don't want to live that way. You may decide it's just fine for a robot to drive you from place A to place B, or to do your taxes, but that you want a sentient being to enjoy your meals with, and to lay their head on the pillow next to you in bed. It's the judgment that recognizes that you don't want to spend the second half of your life apologizing for what you did in the first half. Just remember, you spent a lot of time developing this judgment. Use it. You get to decide what matters. You get to decide how to organize your life around it. Thich Nhat Hanh tells the story of a rider on a horse galloping madly across a field. Someone yells, "Where are you going?" The guy says, "I don't know, ask the horse." You don't want to be that guy. 2, connect the social change you want to make with the life you want to live. Alice Waters wasn't motivated principally by anger at a system. She was inspired by her love for a way of living, how we eat and talk together. The great Jesuit philosopher John Courtney Murray had a word for that: civilization. Turns out that the simple things can be quite profound. David Brooks calls this the "some people find a better way to live and other people follow" approach to social change. It has been the North Star of my own life. The reason I started an interfaith organization is because I think religion is principally about being a better person. And I need to be a better person. So being around religion is good for me. 3, focus on the excellence that is the fruit of hard work. Be very skeptical of people who help you make excuses or encourage a sense of entitlement. Whenever you are faced with the choice of doing more things in a mediocre way or fewer things in an excellent way, choose excellence. When Alice Waters returned from France, her instinct was not to convince fast food joints to put better pickles on their burgers. It was to start a single restaurant that mastered a particular cuisine, the star that built the universe. There is no substitute for being good at what you do. I'm going to say that again. There is no substitute for being good at what you do. In Islam, there's a word for this: ihsan, sacred excellence, the highest spiritual state you can achieve. If you achieve excellence, if you are good at what you do, impact will follow. Sometimes in peculiar ways. As Brian Eno once said about the Velvet Underground, they weren't influential because they sold millions of albums. They were influential because the handful of people who bought their albums were so inspired that they started their own bands. The star that built the universe. Excellence finds its destiny in the service of others. My favorite example about this is, well, about food. In the final season of season 2 of The Bear, Sydney, the sous chef of the fine dining restaurant that is still to be built, notices that her friend Natalie is near collapse from exhaustion. She offers to make Natalie breakfast. The camera does close-ups on every exquisite detail of the process. The way the eggs are cracked and whisked, the way the pan is buttered just so, the manner that the cheese is spread evenly right down the middle, the chopping of the chives, the mixing of the juice, the smile when the food is delivered to an exhausted and grateful recipient, and then the eyes lighting up as the first bite is taken. That was the best part of my day, Sydney tells the chef owner of the restaurant, Carmi. Carmi nods knowingly. They have aspirations to build an establishment that will win a Michelin star. But the original inspiration wasn't about the honors or the recognition. It was about the commitment to the craft of cooking and the joy of taking care of others. It was the profound satisfaction when you make a perfect omelet, and an honest living from your craft, and a gift that brings joy to others. Listen, I don't tell you stories about Alice Waters or the Velvet Underground or the Bear because I'm a cook or a musician. In fact, I'm the last person you want making you an omelet or singing you a song. There's not a thing in the kitchen I haven't found a way to burn. I'm the leader of a nonprofit organization. I run programs. I do strategic plans. I write articles. I give speeches. I tell you these stories because when I watch chefs or musicians or any human being do their work with Isan, sacred excellence, and direct it towards the elevation of other human beings, it inspires me to do my work better, to do my craft with Isan, to be as useful as I can to the people around me. I direct the horse that I ride. I know the destination it's heading for. Humans inspiring other humans to elevate. Maybe the robots can do that, but I don't think so. And even if they could, I'm not sure I'd want them to. At least not in my life. There's something very human about making our own food and our own music and generating our own inspiration. It's the essence of our condition. It is what we were made for. It is what makes us precious to one another. It makes me think of the wisdom of the Roman philosopher Seneca. I will leave you with his words. While we live, while we are amongst human beings, we ought to cultivate our humanity. Thank you.